Part 75. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 768. The third update has arrived. I'm not deaf, so why are you so loud? Zhou Mikang frowned and looked at Zhou Hanliang. You asked for it yourself. I've already fulfilled your wish. Why are you so crazy? Captain, you know that I don't mean that. I just want to say that I may not be able to hold the position of Division Political Commissar. However, if I change to other positions, it would be difficult to directly assist you. So, what I mean is, can you apply to be assigned an assistant, or one at the regiment level? Okay. I bet he wanted to hand over the Divisional Political Commissar to someone else. He demoted himself and stayed with him as an assistant. Zhou Mikang looked at him funny and angry. You are also a veteran. Have you ever heard of this kind of arrangement? Zhou Hanliang smiled coquettishly. I hope you will work hard. With your qualifications, sir, your superiors may be able to agree. Besides, the current situation is different, so it is necessary to do so. Yes or no? Zhou Mikang snorted coldly. What is it? I will give you two ways. Either, you can be a political commissar safely, or you can be transferred to another place. Without thinking about it, Zhou Hanliang gave his choice. Then I will continue to be a division political commissar. Who makes you so unconfident? Zhou Mikang asked. He was also a little curious about this. Zhou Hanliang had been with him for more than a year or two, and he still knew the other person's character very well. Ordinary little things, he would never be allowed to suddenly have this intention to quit. Reluctantly, Han Liang Tongzu recounted what happened last night in detail, saying that he was so concerned about one thing and not the other in this matter that he was afraid that he would make such a mistake in his future work, which would be troublesome. However, he also promised that he would redouble his efforts to ensure that he would not make such a mistake. Please believe in him, Comrade Division Commander. You coward, Zhou Mikang glared at him. What a big deal, just messing around like this. Is the work of the army comparable to this kind of thing? In other words, do you think emotional matters are simple? Do you think the neighborhood committee ant is easy to do? Everyone has his own way. Do you think the political commissar is omnipotent and can solve everything? Zhou Hanliang's eyes immediately lit up. Teacher, don't you think I'm too wrong? Don't you think I'm too stupid and not thoughtful? If you dare to cheat, I will replace you immediately. After training Zhou Hanliang, who came to the house looking for sex, the teacher called Tongzu's home phone and told his wife what happened last night. After hanging up the phone, Chu Xia couldn't sit still and was about to leave. She didn't want Lu Meijun's reputation to be damaged because of her own affairs. Of course, she also knew what Zhou Mikang meant by calling her, which was to hope that she could resolve the matter personally before leaving. It seemed that that guy knew her quite well. If this matter was kept secret, she would definitely be very upset if she found out about it in the future. After asking for leave with her mother-in-law, and then asking for leave with her father and mother, Chu Xia went to 401 accompanied by Zhou Jiping. The driver was, of course, her second brother-in-law Yu Mingtao. Yu Mingtao went to work normally on the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. However, since he was not busy at work just after the New Year, he would go home every 2 days to see Zhou Jiping. Today was his turn to rest, so he had to catch a young man. Second brother-in-law, you finally had a day off and you let me use it. I'm so sorry. After getting in the car, Chu Xia apologized to the other party. She wanted to drive there by herself, but unfortunately no one trusted her. Even if she agrees to take Xiaojing with her. Brother and sister, do you treat me like an outsider? Your second sister and I are not just young people, we just dated. We wish we could spend every minute together. We are an old couple, and it would be boring if we were alone together. Your second sister would be in a better mood if we went out to hang out with her siblings. So, really speaking, I should be the one thanking you. The second brother-in-law's mouth is getting sweeter and sweeter. Chu Xia smiled and hugged Zhou Jiping's arm, or I should say this, the relationship between the second brother-in-law and the second sister is getting deeper and deeper, which is really enviable. No matter how close you are to Xiaomi, Zhou Jiping joked with a smile, although Xiaomi is my biological brother, I have never seen him be so submissive to anyone since he was a child. I guess if you asked him to cut off his head, he would never say anything. Sometimes Xiangping and I are jealous to death. As his biological sisters, we have never looked at us since childhood. When we asked him for anything, we would either have a cold face or a dull face. If we hadn't met his younger siblings, we would have thought that he was born unable to smile. Zhou Jiping's words are of course an exaggeration, but in fact, Zhou Mixang was indeed like this in front of his family in the past. He always had a cold face and didn't like to talk to anyone. Although there was Zhou Xiaoreo's reason, fundamentally speaking, his character is still a bit tangled. If she really thinks about it, Chu Xia also feels quite accomplished. Can she be narcissistic and feel that it was she who saved the former regiment leader and now the division commander Zhangzi? When the car drove into 401, it was exactly 8:30 in the morning. At this time, there was no one in the hospital. Yu Minghui was waiting outside, and Chu Xia and Zhou Jiping went to the office building. First, they went to Song Xiao's place to say hello. After sitting for a while, the two of them got up to find Lu Meijun. Only Jun Daodu was there. She was not surprised to see Chu Xia. She quickly pulled him out and whispered, Meijun asked for leave and said that her mother was sick. I was in a hurry. The teacher said that we both couldn't ask for leave. Chu Xia, please go and have a look, okay? Okay, I'll go now. I'll call you when I get the results, Chu Xia said as she pulled Zhou Jiping out. After leaving the door, Zhou Jiping held her back. Chu Xia, you are pregnant now. You can't rush to an unfamiliar place so rashly. Go to Ansong and call Xiaomi and ask him to send 2 people and let's go together. Okay, Chu Xia agreed happily. Although she thought nothing would happen, what Zhou Jiping said made sense. Otherwise, if there was an eventuality, the consequences would definitely be unbearable for her. After calling, Zhou Hanliang told Chu Xia that Zhou Mikang had already gone to 401 and asked her and Zhou Jiping to wait at the entrance of the hospital. Xiaomi really loves my wife. Song Xiao was on the side during the phone call. Naturally, she listened clearly and joked to Chu Xia with a smile, from now on, when you go to school, his heart will also fly with you. It's over. When Song Xiao said this in front of Zhou Jiping, Chu Xia was a little embarrassed and made an excuse, Teacher, do you think he feels sorry for me? Then you are really wrong. He is worried that his son and daughter will be harmed. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to the Novel Reading Network, readnovel.com, to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go to m.readnovel.com. Read. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 769. 1 Update. You have wronged Xiaomi. Song Xiao explained to Chu Xia seriously, your mother-in-law and I are good friends, and we have watched Xiaomi grow up. I can't say that I know his personality very well, but we know that we are inseparable. If he hadn't been pretending to be you, do you think he would have agreed to go to medical university? In early summer, I secretly touched my forehead. Dear teacher, why are you so honest? Didn't we just say this to make my eldest sister feel more comfortable, hey? Seeing that Chu Xia only smiled and said nothing, Song Xiao thought she didn't believe it, so she explained more deeply to the group leader Tongzi, Chu Xia, I didn't deliberately put in good words for Xiaomi just because I am a good friend with your mother-in-law. He really has such a character. When he was young, he didn't talk much, but he was still relatively easygoing. As he got older, his personality gradually became stubborn. He was able to endure hardships, was friendly, and had a lot of personality. If he doesn't agree with something, even your husband's words are useless. Anyway, after so many years, I think you are the only one who has made him make concessions. Seeing Chu Xia's face getting redder and redder, Zhou Jiping smiled and interrupted Song Xiao, and Song, she knows all this, even girls have these little problems, duplicity, haha. Ah, after being stunned for a moment, Song Xiao understood and laughed too. Yes, 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 look at me, an old antique, I really think she doesn't understand, ha ha ha. The two of them were teasing each other so much that Chu Xia was no longer awkward. Zhou Jiping had already said that, what else could she have to hide? He simply smiled openly and said, it's worth it to make the teacher happy. Teacher hasn't been this happy for a long time, Wang Jing said quickly. Lu Yanning also nodded and said yes again and again. After being echoed by the two students, Song Xiao stopped laughing and looked at Chu Xia seriously. Study hard, I hope the teacher will have the opportunity to teach you again in the future. Chu Xia nodded helpfully, teacher, don't worry, I won't embarrass you. Song Xiao smiled and waved her hand, go quickly, don't let Xiaomi wait outside. Then she looked at Wang Jing, you go and see Chu Xia off. Yes, teacher, Wang Jing responded, stood up and hugged Chu Xia affectionately as she walked out. Yamiru happened to pass by the door, glanced at a few people, and then passed by. She wanted to be Mr. Liang's student, but he kicked her out. Wang Jing whispered, she stood in front of Mr. Liang's office the day before yesterday. I really don't know where she gets her confidence. Has Mr. Liang's assistant been appointed? Chu Xia asked. No, I said I don't want the assistant for the time being, and I want to observe it for a while before making a decision, Wang Jing said and looked at Chu Xia with some confusion. Do you think this is something strange? It feels like Mr. Liang came to our hospital specifically for you. He decided that you would be his special assistant without even meeting you before. Now, he doesn't want anyone who comes to our door. Anyway, there are various gossips in the hospital. The most bizarre theory is that Mr. Liang has taken a liking to you and wants you to be his grandson-in-law. Zhou Jiping, who had been listening in, immediately turned dark. Don't you know about the wedding in early summer? I know. Wang Jing said with a wry smile, it's just that the only people who know who she married are those of us who are familiar with her. Others thought she married a husband from the countryside. Even when Chu Xia went to a medical university this time, many people said that it was Mr. Liang who used the back door to make it easier for his grandson to get close to Chu Xia and then marry Chu Xia home. Chu Xia was really defeated by this weird idea, even if their guess without knowing the truth is understandable, but who is Mr. Liang? He would allow his grandson to destroy other people's families and marry a married woman back home. Even if your brain was struck by lightning, you wouldn't be able to do such a stupid thing, right? How can there be any logic in such random speculation? Wang Jing curled her lips, don't take it to heart, as time goes by, no one will talk about it, and sooner or later, everyone will know the truth. In fact, sometimes I want to help you clarify when I listen to their discussions, but if you really do that, everyone will know who you are marrying, and I don't dare to do that without your consent. Chu Xia interrupted her, sister, let others talk about whatever they want. What you said is that sooner or later the truth will be revealed. To put it bluntly, you should be jealous of me if you slander me. I should be happy, so I won't be angry. As for my marriage to Zhou Mikang, initially I didn't want everyone to think that I came to 401 solely because of my connections, and I also didn't want everyone to feel distant from me or alienate me. I just want to be an ordinary intern doctor and move forward step by step. Now it seems that my plan must change. However, there is no need to tell everyone who I married when I leave. That would be the opposite. I'm showing off. So, just like that, what others say is other people's business, I will still do what I should do, and I will still come to play with my teachers, senior sisters, and my friends during winter and summer vacations. Wang Jing breathed a long sigh of relief. Actually, the teacher asked me to send you off because she wanted me to talk to you about this matter. However, what she is most worried about is that you will not be willing to come to the hospital again after knowing this matter. Now it seems, come on, the teacher's worries seem a bit unnecessary. Zhou Jiping shook her head helplessly. I finally discovered that Aunt Song is either so careless that she can't think of anything, or she thinks too much about everything. As for Song Xiao's shortcomings in this area, Chu Xia had known about it for a long time, so she was not surprised. She said with a smile, although the teacher has been in society for so many years, his character is still so pure. Such people are the most trustworthy. Wang Jing looked at her happily. The teacher will be very happy to hear your review. Then you learn from her, lest the teacher forget me soon. No way, no one will forget you. During this time, the teacher is always saying that after teaching students for so many years, you are the most talented student she has ever seen. Wang Jing looked envious. He looked at Chu Xia and said, to be honest, I used to be quite narcissistic and always thought I was pretty good. Now when I compare with you, I feel sober. Senior sister, even if I'm leaving, you don't have to praise me like this, right? Chu Xia had already arrived in front of the car and invited, we want to wait for Zhou Mikang to come over. Senior sister, come up and wait with us. Okay, Wang Jing was familiar with the Zhou family, so she responded happily and got into the car. By the way, is your father recovering well? Chu Xia asked. She was so busy running around during this period that she really didn't know the situation of Wang Jing's father. It's not bad. I can already move slowly with the crutches. Director Pan said that in 2 months, I can abandon the crutches and walk normally. At this point, Wang Jingmei's eyes became more smiley. Director Pan also said that after complete recovery, there should be no difference from before. Of course, it is certain that he will no longer be able to do life, but my dad is so old that he does not need to do any heavy work. Chu Xia breathed a sigh of relief. You two, father and daughter, have finally come to an end. I hope so. Wang Jing sighed helplessly. As long as my stepmother and Wang Jun don't come looking for him again, then we can truly have a happy ending. Alas. Crunch, a beautiful drift in the military green off-road vehicle entered the warehouse and parked next to it. The person sitting in the driver's seat was Master Zhou. Chu Xia had no choice but to suppress her doubts and bid farewell to Wang Jing. Sister, I'll give you a call later. Don't worry about my affairs, I can take care of it. Take care of yourself. Goodbye. After getting out of the car, she waved to Chu Xia, and Wang Jing added, call me when you get back later and I'll go see you. It just so happens that you can also visit my sister-in-law. After the car drove for a while, Zhou Jiping looked back at Wang Jing, who was still standing on the roadside. She sighed and looked at Chu Xia. I heard from the third aunt that Wang Jing's stepmother and brother saw that Wang Jing and her father lived there. He was better than them, and his food was better than theirs, so he started to think wrongly again. When she went back to visit Wang Jing's father some time ago, she happened to meet the mother and son, and they were having an unpleasant quarrel, but there was nothing she could do about it. After all, Wang Jing's father and mother were not divorced, and the matters between the couple were, outsiders really can't say anything. Moreover, she felt that although Wang Jing's father was strict with Wang Jun, he still couldn't do it if he had to be ruthless. Wang Jing was what she was most worried about now. After all, she hasn't found her husband's family yet. If she has such an excellent family, what family can bear it? After talking about this matter, I also thought about it, but later I could only sigh. We are not close to each other, so we can't get involved in this kind of thing, right? Yes, Chu Xia nodded, it depends on senior sister. She took pity on her father and took him home to raise him. If her father ends up becoming a Nestle, then it's okay for her to endure it. Nothing to be pitiful about. I have the same idea. Kindness must have a certain degree. Moreover, I don't think Wang Jing is the kind of unprincipled kind character. She is probably looking at her father's performance. I think that if her father can't figure it out this time, no matter what happens to him in the future, she will probably not care about it, but no matter what, he is a pitiful person. Actually, she is quite lucky. Her sister-in-law took her in when she was young, and she met Teacher Song at work. As long as she works well, Teacher Song will definitely take care of her. That's true. Zhou Jiping breathed a sigh of relief. I think things are still easy to hit a dead end. In fact, who doesn't have setbacks in life? It's just that the situation is different. Second sister is quite emotional. Chu Xia turned back and glanced at Yu Mingtao, who was following behind. Brother-in-law should be quite emotional now. He was kind enough to accompany second sister, but ended up being left behind and became a follower ours. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 770. Second update. Lu Meijun's family lived in an ordinary residential area, the staff dormitory of the No. 1 textile factory in City A. She had never been there before in early summer. She followed the address to find Unit 401, Building 5, and checked it carefully before knocking on the door. "Who is it?" came the middle-aged female voice. Chuxia could tell that it was the voice of Lu Meijun's mother, so she responded, "Auntie, it's me, Lin Chuxia, Meijun's friend." The door opened with a creak. She probably didn't expect so many people to be standing at the door. Mother Lu was obviously startled, and then she smiled forcefully, "Please come in." The Lu family's house is a one-bedroom house. The living room is only about 15 or 6 square meters. It is not big, but it is kept very neatly. The walls are not covered with newspapers like most people use, but with printed paper, which is very warm. There was a square table and several square stools placed on the right side of the hall. They walked straight to the table and sat down. "Has uncle gone to work?" Chu Xia asked. "Yes, I went to work," Liu's mother said as she took a cup and poured water for several people. She emphasized, "I have scalded all the cups. Auntie, don't bother me." "Where is Meijun?" After talking for a long time, Lu Meijun didn't come out, so Chu Xia had to ask directly. Going to her grandma's house, Mother Lu poured water and put it in front of several people, and she also pulled up a stool and sat down. "I am the only one at home. Do you have something to do with Meijun?" Chu Xia smiled sheepishly, "Auntie, I have heard about what happened last night. I came here today to apologize to you. It was all to see me off. They drank too much. Normally, everyone doesn't drink. Ever since we joined the women's medical team, we have been very close to each other. Now that I'm leaving, everyone feels bad, so they drink more. If we knew that you had arranged a blind date for Meijun, we would definitely not let her drink. I am so sorry that this happened. Auntie, I'm not here mainly to explain to you. I just wanted to talk to your colleague. It's not anything else. I don't want others to gossip about Meijun." "Hey," Mother Lu sighed, "if I had known, I wouldn't have taken them with me. However, I don't blame you for this. They all came here when they were young. I can understand your thoughts. However, after what happened yesterday, I also feel that Li Meilan's nephew is not suitable for Meijun. A grown man is too small-minded. If he really marries into such a family, he will not be able to live a good life." After thinking about it, Chu Xia asked, "Auntie, is uncle angry with us?" "No, no." Liu's mother waved her hands repeatedly, "You have misunderstood. Meijun went up today not because of what happened last night, but because her grandma was sick and asked her to take care of her. Ordinarily I should do this, but... After a pause, Mother Liu's eyes fell on Joe Mikang and the others. Who are these? Hello, Aunt, I am Lin Chuxia's eldest sister-in-law. This is my brother Joe Mixang, who is Lin Chuxia's husband. This is my husband Yu Minghui. My sister-in-law is pregnant and we were worried about her going out alone, so we all followed her. If you find it inconvenient, we will wait downstairs. Zhou Jiping stood up as she spoke, and Liu's mother quickly stopped her. Since you are Comrade Lin Chuxia's family, there is nothing inconvenient for you. When Mei Jun came back, she always told me that they were some good friends. Although it was my first time to meet Comrade Chuxia, I already felt very familiar with them. I believe in my daughter's judgment of people, so I will tell the truth, as long as you don't think my wordiness is annoying. Chu Xia quickly said, Auntie, you are too polite. I just said that I should take care of Mei Jun and her grandmother, but... Liu's mother couldn't help but sigh again. I married into the Lu family, and my mother-in-law has never had a good relationship with me. The reason for this is quite simple. At that time, my family introduced me to Mei Jun's father with good conditions, but Mei Jun's father and I were working in the same factory, and we fell in love with each other, so we got together. Just because Mei Jun's grandma can't be Mei Jun's father's boss doesn't mean that she can accept me. Until now, she has a cold face when she sees me. Fortunately, she is okay with Mei Jun. Early this morning, Mei Jun and her uncle called and said that the old lady was sick and asked someone to come and take care of her. Her father was rough-handed and men were rough-hearted, so it was really inappropriate. The relationship between me and the old lady is not good. At this time, she would definitely think that I was here to watch a joke, so I had no choice but to let Mei Jun fulfill my filial piety for me. This whole morning at home, I have nothing to lose. Mei Jun finally found such a good future. What if it is delayed again because of things at home? Why? Is Grandma Lu seriously ill? Chu Xia asked doubtfully. I'm old and my stomach is weak. I ate rice cakes last night and then a frozen pear, which made me vomit and have diarrhea. I can't control it. I can't do it without people around me. Grandma Mei Jun didn't want to look at me, so she stayed at Uncle Mei Jun's house. Uncle Mei Jun and her mother-in-law both worked the day shift. At this time, it was appropriate for us to send someone to take care of her. After understanding the reason, Chu Xia felt relieved. Seeing that Liu's mother was not in a high mood, she stood up and left. Auntie, since there is nothing wrong, we will leave first. Mei Jun has my phone number. Please tell her to call me if anything happens. Friends should help each other. Even if I am not here, my family is still here. Dong dong dong. Before Mother Lu could say anything, there was a loud knock on the door. She could only smile apologetically at Chu Xia. Comrade Chu Xia, please wait a moment. I'll go see who it is. Okay, you go and do your work first. Chu Xia sat back and glanced at Zhou Mikang, who was sitting next to him with no expression at all, and then at Yu Minghui, who was sitting there with his head lowered. She looked at Zhou Jiping with a helpless smile. Second sister, look at the two of them. If you don't know, they think they are accompanying us to collect debts. Zhou Jiping laughed. That's right. They are here as bodyguards. This way is more in line with the image. The two people who were teased still sat there as they were, sighing helplessly. Chu Xia looked at the door and saw a woman in her 30s speaking to Mei Jun's mother in a straight voice, and Mei Jun's mother's expression became darker and darker, coming more and more solemn. After seeing off the guests, Mei Jun's mother's expression was obviously more solemn than before. Auntie, what happened? Chu Xia hesitated, then asked the question in her heart. She really cared about Lu Mei Jun, her friend. If something really happened to the Lu family, and Zhou Mikang and Yu Mingtao were both here, it shouldn't be too difficult to solve it. Mother Lu forced a smile. It's nothing, it's just that my job has been adjusted. Chu Xia is not stupid. When he related the previous things, he immediately understood. Did you be transferred to a place where you are tired and make less money? Just because of what happened last night? Mother Lu nodded with a wry smile. I didn't expect her to be like this, but it's okay, I'm in good health and I can do any more tiring work. It was a bitter experience for Mei Jun's father. He was originally on the security side, but was transferred to the loading and unloading side. He was already quite young, and working with a group of young people was really enough for him. This person is as small-minded as the eye of a needle. Chu Xia muttered speechlessly and looked at the three people sitting there. She was not familiar with the textile factory in City A. There must be some familiarity with the three people sitting here, right? I'll take care of this. Zhou Jiping smiled at Liu's mother. Auntie, I have a classmate whose husband is in the number 1 textile factory. I'll give her a call. Don't worry, when you go to work later, you can do whatever you want, and no one will give you any shoes. Is this convenient? Mother Lu was a little hesitant. She hoped that the other party could help with the adjustment, but she felt that the favor she owed was too great. Moreover, she was only the eldest aunt of her daughter's friend, and then her daughter's friend owed him a debt. The relationship between the in-laws' family is not good, right? With this in mind, before Zhou Jiping could speak, she added, forget it, there's no need to adjust it. It just so happens that I move more and my body is fine. As for Mei Jun's father, it's good to change places. Wait until he comes home. I told him to just do what he can. I had black lines all over my head in early summer, but in this day and age, there is still talk of changing to heavy work to exercise. However, from this incident, she also affirmed Lu Mei Jun's family. Therefore, sometimes the personality of children is greatly influenced by their parents. Of course, there is no absolute in everything, and many of them are contrary to their parents. Dong dong dong. The knock on the door rang again. Mother Lu smiled apologetically at several people and hurried to open the door. Xiangji, let me tell you something. The woman's voice stopped abruptly and her eyes glanced. Looking at the people in the room, Xiangji, do you have guests at home? It's Mei Jun's good friend. He came here to explain what happened last night. Liu's mother said as she turned around and walked in. She pointed at Chuxia and introduced to her, this is Comrade Lin Chuxia who passed the exam after attending a medical university. Mei Jun and the others were reluctant to part with Comrade Lin Chuxia, so they drank more. After looking at Chuxia, the woman smiled and said, this girl is so handsome and capable. She has been admitted to college at such a young age. Tisk tisk, Xiangji, it would be great if your beautiful lady could also pass the exam. What do you want to tell me? Liu's mother directly changed the topic. Chu Xia and others already understood at this time that this woman must be the one who took her nephew on a blind date last night. You and Jin Liang's work has been adjusted. I have tried my best to say good things to you, but it's no use. If it hadn't been for what happened last night, I wouldn't have explained it to you. I'm not afraid of your misunderstanding. I'll come and talk to you in my spare time. Say. How do you know? Liu's mother looked at her with a puzzled face. Aren't you not going to work today? Ours. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 771. The second update is here. Sorry, I can't code it out. Something happened and it's unlucky, so I won't say it anymore. It will be 8,000 words tomorrow, for sure. Although he didn't have a good impression of Zhao Yukui, it was not the time to argue with her right now, so Chu Xia went into the room and poured some water and handed it to her. With half a glass of water in her stomach, Zhao Yukui finally regained her composure, grabbed Zhao Yulan's arm, and stared at Lin Baohe. Yulan, Baohe, you trust the second sister, right? How should Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe answer such a sentence without beginning or end? Staring at Zhao Yuqi with a troubled expression, neither of them said a word. Little sister, we are biological sisters from the same mother. Interrupting Zhao Yuqi, who wanted to continue playing the family card, Zhao Yulan said, "Second sister, let's talk about the matter directly, okay? Second sister-in-law is really not a human being. She led Qi Yan to complain, saying that it was me and your brother-in-law who replaced Chu Xia. At this time, your brother-in-law has been arrested. Yulan, Baohe, your brother-in-law, it's unfair, he doesn't know anything, and besides, he has always disagreed with me treating you like this, so how could he help me harm Chu Xia, don't you think so?" Although it was not detailed enough, the general idea was understood by the Chuxia family. Lin Xiahua took Zhao Qian to the commune to report Zhang. "Now, Zhang has been arrested?" "How can we arrest him?" Chu Xia interrupted and asked. She found it a bit incredible. Zheng Meili was not confused no matter how she looked at it. How could she rely solely on the words of Lin Xiahua and Zhao Qian? Then arrested Zhang? Xue Ligong led the militia company and imprisoned your uncle. If he hadn't run away quickly after getting the news, my second aunt would have been arrested as well. Summer. Your second uncle really loves you. He got my Feng's teacher spot for you. His hands and feet were done by your second uncle, and they have nothing to do with your second uncle. He knew I had done something, so he almost beat me up. Xia, the second aunt knows you are a good boy. Don't bear the grudge against the second aunt and save your second uncle. Okay. Chu Xia looked puzzled. Second aunt, are you confused? How can I save my second uncle? Your father loves you the most. As long as you say a word, your father will definitely be able to help my second aunt. Zhao Yuqi stared at Lin Baohe eagerly. Baohe, last time you begged your brother-in-law. He agreed so happily. The fault is all on the second sister. Please save your brother-in-law. Second sister, please. Looking at Zhao Yuqi, who was crying with runny nose, Lin Baohe looked at a loss. Second sister, how can I have that ability? You have it. As long as you are willing, you will be able to save your brother-in-law. Doesn't the old secretary of your village always feel that he owes you? Just ask him and this matter will definitely be solved. The two soldiers who came to his house last time. He is from the same army as the one recruiting now, as long as they help him by saying a few words. This matter is not a matter at all. It turns out that this is the score she typed. She is quite well informed. Second aunt, isn't the eldest brother with Captain Zhang? Why don't you go and beg him? Chu Xia asked in confusion. Ah, Zhao Yuqi was stunned, then stood up. Why did I forget about him? I'm going to find him right away. Yes, Qi Liang must have a way. He ran out for 2 steps, turned around quickly, and pulled Lin Baohe out. He said, Baohe, please ask the old secretary to call the head of the army. I will go find Qi Liang and try to rescue your brother-in-law as soon as possible. Chu Xia couldn't help but interrupt her. Second aunt, who did you hear that your second uncle was arrested? Teacher Song from the school went to the commune to get materials and saw it with his own eyes. Zhao Yulan burst into tears again. Xue Ligong also kicked your uncle. He was seeking revenge for personal reasons. I don't know where he got the information. He said if your uncle goes against him, he will not like your uncle. If that's the case, Captain Zhang and eldest brother must not be here. Stunned for a moment, Zhao Yuqi stared at Chu Xia blankly. Teacher Song doesn't know them and didn't say whether they were there or not. Alas, Chu Xia sighed with a look of helplessness. If eldest brother was here, how could he let Xue Ligong kick my second uncle? Second aunt, you didn't understand anything, so you ran back and asked my father to find Grandpa Dagong. Xue Ligong will kill your uncle immediately if he gets the chance. If the second aunt doesn't run away quickly, she will definitely be arrested and interrogated with your second uncle. When teacher Song heard that Xue Ligong had arranged for someone to arrest me, he ran back to school to inform me without even taking any materials. His father was killed by criticism back then. If it hadn't been for your second uncle, he wouldn't have been a teacher. Otherwise, how could you be so anxious to tell me the news? After realizing what error this was, Chu Xia shut up and didn't say any more. How could Zhao Yuqi not be afraid after seeing too many people who were criticized to death for no reason? At this moment, she also understood why Zhao Yuqi made herself so embarrassed. I believe that along the way, she was running while worrying that Xue Ligong's people would catch her. No matter how much her second aunt complained about being overjoyed with Zhang Yu's hung back then, for her now, her second uncle was everything to her. Otherwise, there would be no need to worry. Like this? Or do people only know how to cherish when they face loss? No matter how Zhao Yuqi was in the past, Zhang was really good to their family. He had never looked down on them when they met in Xiaolin village before. Therefore, Lin Baohe ran to Chen Fenggang's house. Second sister, I'll go with you. Zhao Yulan was afraid that something might happen to Zhao Yuqi on the way, so she followed her out, saying, Xia, keep a good watch on the door at home. Don't open the door for anyone to come. Wait until your parents come back. Chu Xia shook her head in a funny way. When Zhao Yulan came back from Xiaolin village a few days ago, she expressed her determination to sever ties with Zhao Yuqi. Now look at it, where is there any trace of it? It wasn't until evening that Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe came home. Chu Xia quickly poured boiled water for the two of them, and then served the food that had been heated a long time ago. Mom, Dad, are you tired? Let's eat first, it's still hot. There was no telephone in the village, so Lin Baohe and Chen Fenggang went to the commune to make the call. Therefore, Chu Xia was not surprised that his father and mother came back together. Alas, Zhao Yulan sighed heavily and shook her head. Mom can't eat it. Xia, let's eat it with your father. Eat, Lin Baohe glared at his wife. Even if something big happens, you can't lose your stomach. What will happen to our family if you get hungry and something goes wrong? It was rare for her husband to get angry, so Zhao Yulan picked up the chopsticks obediently. Your second aunt, you're not exaggerating. Zhao Yulan suddenly said this. Originally, she wanted to wait until her parents finished eating before asking, but now that Zhao Yulan was like this, she wouldn't be able to eat at all if she wasn't allowed to finish. Chu Xia simply put down her chopsticks and said, Mom, did my uncle really get beaten? They are all gone. Zhao Yulan sobbed. When your second aunt and I went there, Chief Zheng and the others had already gotten the news and rushed over. Otherwise, your second uncle might. How could Xue Ligong be so bold? Chu Xia looked surprised. To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 772. Permanent URL, please remember. Second update arrived. First release. Can't you go to the hospital today? After hesitation, Lu Meijun looked at Chu Xia and asked. She knew that Chu Xia was going to the capital tomorrow, and there was a high probability that she would not go there again. However, she still couldn't help but feel hopeful. I asked hopefully. I'll go there in the afternoon. I have to formally say goodbye to Mr. Yuan. Chu Xia smiled and pulled her. You can leave after breakfast. You can catch a ride with Jingzhe. I'll call him now. Give him a call and ask him to wait for you. When the words of rejection came to her lips, Lu Meijun changed her words and said, Okay, then I will take advantage of it. That's how it should be. Chu Xia smiled and patted her. It seems you wanted to refuse just now, Meijun. We are good friends. I will definitely not play tricks with you, and you are not allowed to be heretical with me in the future. I know. Lu Meijun responded with a smile, as long as you don't find me annoying. In the morning, I had breakfast with the entire Zhou family. Chu Xia sent Lu Meijun out. Seeing that there was no one around, Lu Meijun whispered, "Chuxia, I especially believe in one thing now, that is, good people will be rewarded. You see, your parents are good people, and you are also a good person. As a result, you are living such a good life now, and my parents have never done anything wrong. As a result, I met you and solved their difficulties." I guess Li Milan must have been very surprised when she saw my parents today. Seeing as how embarrassed she would be in forcing my mother to work as a nanny at her house in the future. Auntie told me that she was very happy when she went to Li Milan's house and said that Li Milan's mother-in-law was quite interesting. It's quite interesting, but you didn't see how she ordered my mother to take care of her, as if my mother should take care of her. There were several times when my mother didn't come back at mealtime, so I went over to look for my mother, and I looked at my mother cleaning them there without any shame. Chuxia, you and I have known each other for such a long time, and you should know my character. I don't flatter others, but I'm not the kind of person who is particularly sensitive or overly self-respecting. It makes me feel uncomfortable. They must have gone too far. Of course, my mother is not born to be a bitch. She just feels sorry for my father. My father is a very serious person who works very seriously and will never cheat or cheat. But he just didn't know how to talk, so the director of security always disliked him and wanted to transfer him. If my dad is really transferred, the only possibility was to go to the loading and unloading department. Of course, my mother was reluctant to let my father do that, so she would rather suffer a little and lied to my father that she liked to go to Li Milan's house. At first, like my dad, I believed what she said was true. It wasn't until I met her a few times that I finally understood. However, my mom wouldn't let me tell my dad the truth, so my dad was always kept in the dark. Meijun, I've never had the nerve to ask you, who helped you get into the women's medical team. Chuxia smiled at her. It's not that I have dark thoughts. It's not particularly easy for ordinary children to get in. Like me, I was faked in the first place, but I was lucky and didn't miss it. I understand what you mean. My family is obviously related, so why would my parents choose to stay far away from us? Lu Meijun sighed. My father and my mother, they don't want to do anything that is dragging down their relatives. When it comes to their own affairs, they have never asked anyone for help. They have to find a way to handle it themselves. Only when they came to me, for the sake of my future, did they ask relatives for the first time. I was able to enter the women's medical team because of my uncle's credit. However, my uncle only told me about the recruitment news. The test results were completely true, and I was completely qualified. However, as you said, if this matter has nothing to do with it, it would be hard to tell. One of my classmates also applied for it at the time, and her grades were better than mine. However, she failed to pass the exam. She was not convinced and sued, but of course the result was nothing. Therefore, I have always been very grateful to my aunt and uncle, but I am even more grateful to my father and my mother. They were completely willing to give up their own principles for me. Of course, their principles may be a bit pedantic, but because of that, it shows how important they regard me. So Chuxia, I am really, really grateful to you for this incident. But I know that what you want to hear is not my gratitude, so I won't say it. There is still a long way for us to walk together. Anyway, I will always stand by your side. Look, you still said it. Chuxia gave her a dissatisfied look. I helped you because I recognized you as a friend, not to make you regard me as a benefactor from now on. Lu Meijun giggled. You think too much. I will not regard you as a benefactor, I will only regard you as a lifelong friend. Chuxia was stunned and then laughed. Sure enough, she took it for granted. After the other party said that, she followed the other party's train of thought. Hey, man. Before early summer passed in the afternoon, Lu Meijun called and told her that Tongbao had gone to find her. He begged for mercy and apologized, saying that he refused because he was not worthy of the other person and that he did not really dislike her. Other side. Lu Meijun said that she was stunned at the time and didn't understand how she could let the other party misunderstand her like this. Only when the other party explained it clearly did she realize that it turned out that Tongbao's parents had been suspended from work. Meijun, are you making this call to plead for his parents? Chu Xia asked. Of course not, Lu Meijun smiled over there, I'm not that stupid. You helped me, and I'm going to let you do something contrary to your will? Moreover, I believe that he definitely did not wrong his parents. His parents will punish him for trivial matters, but your people in Chuxia won't do that. People of the same kind flock together, right? Can I understand that you are praising me? Chu Xia chuckled. Meijun, I noticed that you are becoming more and more skillful in using sugar-coated bullets. Really? Lu Meijun smiled proudly, the skillful use of sugar-coated bullets is also a skill. Chu Xia, thank you for reminding me, otherwise I wouldn't know that I have become more capable again. If I don't agree with you, how did you answer Tongbao? Chu Xia asked. I'm just pretending to be confused. I don't know anything about this. Can you argue with this kind of person? Smart, Chu Xia couldn't help but praise. Meijun, I think you should go into administration. You definitely have more development prospects than that guy Zioxian. However, don't tell her this, otherwise, she will cry and shout, come to me to settle accounts. Knowing that Chu Xia was joking with herself, Lu Meijun deliberately said, how can I not tell her? I can't do anything that would be sorry for my friend. If you say so, I have to tell her so. Of course, I also have my own selfish motives. I want her to realize that I am better than her. In the future, she should listen to my opinion on everything and it is best to accept me as the boss. Chu Xia, what do you think? I think it's okay. It's settled. If you don't tell Zioxian like this, I won't have you as a friend. Lu Meijun. Is this true or false? Could it be that the joke has gone too far? By the time she came back to her senses and wanted to explain a few words, there was already silence on the other end of the phone. What's the matter, you're out of your mind? Jun Daodu noticed that Lu Meijun seemed to be a different person when she came back after going out, so she looked at her in confusion. Are you feeling sorry for that scumbag? Is he worthy? Lu Meijun curled her lips. You think I'm so stupid, are you my friend? Then what's wrong with you? Lu Meijun told the other party what had just happened. At the end, she said with a worried look, isn't Chu Xia angry? Is it possible? Jun Daodu rolled her eyes. If she is really so narrow-minded, do you think we can have such a good relationship with her? In other words, if she is really such a narrow-minded person, do you think she would do something like that? Can De Kung Fu help you? Although it was her eldest aunt who made the move, you have to know that if she hadn't spoken, her eldest aunt wouldn't have known how much you meant to her, so she wouldn't have been able to act so thoroughly. You idiot, can't you see that she is supporting you? Now that your parents are no longer being bullied, who is the happiest? What a fool. I understand, but... Jun Daodu interrupted her, but what? I will definitely file a complaint when she comes. She will be really angry by then and will never help you again. I'm not worried because I want Chu Xia to help me. Lu Meijun looked at Jun Daodu seriously. I don't want to make her angry because of me, because she is my friend sincerely. You understand me? Are you in the mood? I understand, that's it? Don't worry. I guarantee you that Chu Xia is definitely not angry with you. Otherwise, you can ask her when she comes, okay? It's the same as whether you said it or not. Lu Meijun was speechless. If we meet her, of course I will know whether she is angry or not. Isn't it just because I haven't seen her that I am confused now? Jun Daodu. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Chu Xia had not come. Jun Daodu was also a little unsure of her guess. Could it be that she really didn't know him well enough? Guo didn't know that Chu Xiaotongzi had not left the Zhou family at this time, and would go to the capital tomorrow to report. He also didn't know how the distant relatives of the Zhou family got the news. Anyway, they all came over under the pretext of farewell. After such a delay, it was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon when Chu Xia arrived at 401. Of course she knew that Lu Meijun had been thinking about it all the time. In order to punish the other party for being too cautious, she went directly to Mr. Yuan's office. Yuan Hui was also there, and her eyes brightened visibly when she saw Chu Xia. In fact, she waited until today and waited until this time to come. Chu Xia just didn't want to look into Uehara Hui's expectant eyes. She didn't know how to tell him about Lin Wenbin. Ours. We have been working hard to improve the reading experience. If you like it, please share it with your friends. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 773. 1 update. I knew you could come over before you left. Mr. Yuan carried a small box and handed it to Chu Xia. These are the notes I have compiled over the years. It should be good for you to read more. This gift is so valuable. Not knowing how to express her feelings, Chu Xia chose the most traditional way. Thank you, teacher, I will work hard. Yes, Mr. Yuan nodded, you have talent. As long as you work hard, your future achievements will definitely be good. However, family cannot be ignored. No matter how great an achievement is, it is meaningless if there is no family to share it with. Chu Xia quickly promised, yes, teacher, I will definitely pay attention. Dad, why are you so serious? Yuan Hui looked at her father with some annoyance. You don't know how sensible Chu Xia is. I didn't come to see you before leaving just to be scolded. It's none of your business, step aside. Mr. Yuan glared at his daughter and continued, in early summer, next semester we can meet frequently. At that time, I will test your understanding of these notes, so don't think I gave it to you to show off, but you have to really understand it, understand. Yes, Chu Xia looked at Mr. Yuan excitedly, has it been completely decided? Mr. Yuan smiled and nodded, yes, the notice has come, but my class will not start until the second half of the semester, so there is no need to report there for the time being. You will become heavier in the second half of the semester. I will be closer by then and can observe your physical condition at any time, so that your family will not worry. Teacher. Unexpectedly, Mr. Yuan had such considerations. Chu Xia's voice became choked, and her words of thanks were too empty. She simply stepped forward, hugged the little old man and hugged him hard. I will definitely live up to the teacher, no matter what. Okay, okay, okay. Mr. Yuan patted her back gently, my child, the teacher will try his best to hide nothing. Our country is so short of talents. If she had just come to this era, Chu Xia would have been furious when she heard these words, but now, she can only be moved. The old man is really worried. After 10 years of catastrophe, all walks of life are short of talents. Wait, but fate cannot wait. Seeing how worried his daughter was, Mr. Yuan sighed secretly and said, I still have some work to do, so you young people go and talk for a while. Teacher. Do you need my help? Chu Xia asked. Okay, she admitted that she was still escaping. Although she knew it was unkind, she was really embarrassed. No, you guys can talk. Mr. Yuan reached out and patted her shoulder gently, then turned and entered the inner room. The look in his eyes before leaving clearly signaled Chu Xia not to leave Yuan Hui alone anymore. Hey, it wasn't that she was being ignored on purpose, it was because she really didn't know how to say it. Lin Wenbin should let Lin Wenbin say some things by himself. She was an outsider after all. It's Lin Wenbin who doesn't want to, right? Yuan Hui is so smart. Seeing Chu Xia's actions, she already guessed it, and said with a wry smile, I told him before, if he really doesn't like me, he won't. It's okay to cling to her. If we don't succeed, it means we still have no fate. Chu Xia, I'm sorry to make things difficult for you. No, no, Chu Xia quickly waved her hands, it's really not what you think, it's just. After hesitating, she decided to tell the truth, senior sister, originally I didn't want to get involved in this matter, but, look, my elder brother won't be able to come over and explain the situation to you for a while. Rather than letting you make wild guesses here, I might as well tell you the truth. It's not that my eldest brother doesn't like you, it's just that he's not very sure about his feelings yet, so he wants to be with you, but he's also afraid of making another mistake and hurting both parties. I know that what he did was unmanly and looked down upon. However, he has been emotionally hurt before and is more cautious than normal people. Senior sister, can you understand that? I understand. Yuan Hui nodded, that is to say, when he said we were breaking up, he wasn't willing to do it, and when he was talking about getting together, he wasn't willing to do it either, so he hid, right? Yes, you can understand it this way. Chu Xia stammered, her face a little red. Although she didn't do the thing, the teacher was so kind to her, and she couldn't handle such a small thing. She was so embarrassed. One day, I will let him be with me willingly. Yuan Hui poked her finger in a funny way, do you feel ashamed of my dad for being like this? Ah, Chu Xia, who was told the central issue, raised her head and looked at the other party blankly. After a while, she patted her chest in shock, senior sister, are you still a psychologist? I can't speak of a psychological expert, but I have studied psychology, and after analyzing your personality, I will naturally know what you are thinking. Moreover, I also know that my father has asked you to ask for help. Yuan Hui sighed slightly, my dad never asks for help, especially the younger ones. Do you know how difficult it is for him to tell you what he said? It means that the teacher cares about senior sister. I understand. Senior sister, don't worry. I can't control my brother's feelings, but I will not hide his true thoughts from senior sister. I know, so I am particularly concerned about what you say. Yuan Hui smiled at her, in the past, when I saw my friends seem to have changed because they like someone, I looked down on them. You'll understand when you get there. These days, I am really restless. Several times, I want to call Lin Wenbin and question him. What does he mean? After the new year, just one phone call to my family to say New Year greetings is all. What on earth does he do to me? I even wanted to ask him if someone had introduced him to a better one after he went back, but he was too embarrassed to tell me, so he deliberately hung me up like this. Fortunately, reason controlled my emotions and ultimately prevented me from doing such a thing. Chu Xia, I am telling you this to let you know that I take this relationship very seriously. At the same time, I also want to tell you that even if your brother and I don't get along, it won't affect our relationship, because you can't blame anyone for emotional matters. If we can't get together, it only means that we are not destined. And I believe that even if the two of us can't make it, sooner or later, I will meet the fate that truly belongs to me. I will never lose confidence because of one failure. With these words, senior sister hopes that you can tell your brother when you arrive in the capital and tell him not to be afraid. I will not pester him to force him to marry me. If he feels that it is inappropriate or he really cannot accept me, then he will not be needed. Said, I will leave voluntarily. So, let him stop being a coward now. Whether his ex-girlfriend shows up or his ex-girlfriend stalks him, as long as he doesn't change his mind, I don't mind. After Yuan Hui finished speaking, Chu Xia was stunned for a long time before asking, has my brother's ex-girlfriend come to see my senior sister? Yes, Yun Hui nodded. She told me how wonderful the time they had together was, and she also said that she already understood the importance of that relationship. He also said that Lin Wenbin had agreed to renew his relationship with her. He also said that the reason why Lin Wenbin didn't come to me was because he didn't want to face me again, so it was up to her. How shameless. Apart from these 3 words, Chu Xia didn't know how to comment. Yes, I also think she is quite shameless. Lin Wenbin is not a thing. If she doesn't want it, she can throw it away. If she wants it, she can take it back. Yun Hui sneered. Besides, such a clumsy method, it only shows her guilty conscience. If Lin Wenbin really plans to be with her, he will never avoid me. Senior sister is smart. Chu Xia gave her a thumbs up. I can testify to this. The eldest brother really has no love for her, and the eldest brother also said that he doesn't really love her. It's just that everyone he felt that they were a couple, and he also felt that they should be a couple. He hasn't looked for her since the breakup, not because he was nostalgic for that relationship, but because he has never met a girl who makes him excited and willing to be with her. And I feel that the eldest brother hasn't figured out what kind of girl is really suitable for him, so he is waiting and hesitating. As long as Sister Yun Hui guides him a little, the result will definitely be different. Yun Hui smiled and nodded. Okay, I'll guide him. Happiness has to be fought for, and it doesn't necessarily have to be dominated by men, right? Looking her up and down, Chu Xia chuckled. Senior sister, are you in a better mood now? Yes, Yun Hui sighed. Mainly because I see my parents and my mother so worried about me, I feel very bad. If one day I really get together with your brother, I will definitely let him have a taste of this. In early summer, if you really think that my dad is a good teacher and treats you well, then you have to turn to me, and you can't tell him my thoughts. Okay, I'll help, senior sister, Chu Xia said with a serious face. I really feel that my elder brother is wrong. No matter what, I can't do things like this and make the elders worry. Well, considering that he has been hurt before, I forgive him. Yun Hui looked at Chu Xia funny. You, follow my words, isn't that what you want from me? Are you satisfied now? Haha. Chu Xia laughed. Senior sister, you are really overthinking this. I really feel that way. Senior sister, I suggest you study me less from a psychological perspective. It may be useful to others. I really can't. Yun Hui raised her eyebrows. You mean, you are different? The black thread on Chu Xia's head. Senior sister, I have always been for you. Is it really appropriate to say this about me? Okay, let me change the words. Our early summer is different. Okay, once she was in a good mood, Yun Hui became interested in joking. Ours. The fastest update, please read. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 774. Second update arrived. Okay, I reluctantly accepted it. Chu Xia winked at her, walked to the door of the inner room, and looked in through the crack in the door. Yun Hui understood, shook her head in amusement, and stepped forward and said, Dad, I'm fine, don't worry. Bar. Cough. After the cough, old Yun's voice came out, yeah. Teacher. Chu Xia opened the door with a black thread. Sure enough, the little old man was not doing experiments at all, the scalpel in his hand was not even removed. Dad. Yun Hui also had a black line on her head, and then her eyes turned red. She stepped forward and hugged the little old man. Dad, don't worry, my daughter is strong. No matter whether she succeeds or not, she will not be defeated. I know. Mr. Yun simply stopped pretending. These days, your mother and I are worried when we see you unhappy. In terms of family background, our family and the Lin family are not matched, but in terms of talents, my parents, I really think you are worthy of Lin Wenbin. However, Your mother and I couldn't guess what the other party's family was thinking. We thought about calling Chusia to ask, but we thought that would make it difficult for Chusia. After all, she didn't grow up in the Lin family. Your mother and I don't think it's necessary for Lin Wenbin to do it, but because it's rare for a child like you to fall in love with someone, we are afraid of missing out, and we don't know how long we have to wait. Now that you can think about this matter so clearly, your father and your mother will feel relieved. Go home soon and talk to your mother about this matter so that she won't worry about it anymore. Dad, I know. I will go home and tell my mother soon. Yuan Hui smiled bitterly. I bet my father and mother became unhappy because they saw me unhappy, but I thought my parents were unhappy, so if you are unhappy, what are we talking about? It shows that communication and expressing your thoughts are extremely important. Even the closest people, after all, no one is a roundworm in someone else's belly, right? Yes, Yuan Hui nodded in agreement, but Mr. Yuan snorted. Chusia, you are a medical student, how can you use this metaphor? Although roundworms grow in people's stomachs, how can they understand people's thoughts? Yuan Hui /U0026 Chusia. Old man. Can you not be so serious? It's just a metaphor, and you are also on the line. How can people talk about this? Looking at the time, Mr. Yuan started to chase people away. It's getting late. You should go back quickly. We will leave tomorrow. Spend more time with the elders at home. When you are free, come back and see them more often. I'll go over and see Master's wife and she'll be leaving soon. Chusia said as she pulled Yuan Hui out. Teacher, please go home soon. Don't just talk about me, it's also wrong for you to always stay in the laboratory instead of going home to accompany your teacher's wife. Seeing her father standing there in surprise, Yuan Hui kept laughing all the way, and Chusia didn't stop her. Yuan Hui was still smiling until she entered the house. Mrs. Yuan greeted Chusia and couldn't help but ask, Chusia, what's wrong with Hui? Yuan Hui quickly pointed at Chusia and said, I don't want her to be amused. After listening to her daughter's story, the old lady also laughed. After a moment, he hugged Chusia affectionately and said, you are the only one who dares to say that about him. We, the two of us, don't dare to say that. Chusia smiled sheepishly, as long as Master Mu doesn't think I'm rude. The old lady said dissatisfiedly, you kid, you are still separated from your master's wife, right? Of course not, I just didn't feel it when I said it at the time. After I came out, I realized that I seemed a bit insignificant. If this is an elder who values rules, he will definitely never want to talk to me again. No, old man Yuan is not that rigid. Just then Mr. Yuan opened the door and came in. When he heard his wife calling him old man in front of the students, he coughed with dissatisfaction. My child is going to school tomorrow. He has to go home early to accompany his elders. Don't hold on to him. At such an old age, this no wink at all. The old lady ignored Mr. Yuan and looked at Chusia. Are you leaving tomorrow? Yes, Chusia nodded, stood up and said goodbye. Master, I will come back to see you next time. I wish you and your master and sister's family a happy life every day. Then he looked at Mr. Yuan with a shy face. Teacher, what are you doing? My box is still in the laboratory, can I ask my senior sister to accompany me? Mr. Yuan waved his hand. Go, remember to lock the door. After the two of them walked out the door, the old lady glared at her husband and said, the child is here for a visit. He hasn't even sat down on his butt yet, so you just chase him away. Is there anyone like you who can be a teacher? You think I don't want to keep her? Mr. Yuan sighed, this child has a good temper. When she is around, the house will be particularly lively, but we can't patronize ourselves. She is pregnant, and it is not easy for her husband's family to agree to let her go to school, but we cannot let the Zhou family think that this child is not sensible enough because of us. If they dare to find fault with such a good wife, they would really be dissatisfied. You old woman, why can't you listen to what I'm saying? It's not that the Joe family must despise their children, but that we should think more about our children. Don't worry if it's because of us that it's hard for our children and we're not at home the day before we leave. It's not good to eat with your mother-in-law and family after all, isn't it? Okay, okay, you are right. The old lady sighed and looked at her husband. How is Huiwai's matter? I see that Huiwai is very happy. Is there a way out? That's right, the old man answered ambiguously, stood up, and walked to the study. You wait until Huiwai comes back and ask her personally. I was not present when the two children talked outside. The old lady rolled her eyes and said, You're hiding quickly. I've been married to you my whole life. Do you think I don't know your temper? She sighed. If you don't succeed, it won't happen. After all, fate can't be forced. No one can say, it's just that it hasn't been decided yet. Old Yun stretched out his head to emphasize before closing the study door. The old lady looked helpless. After explaining the matter carefully, could she save a piece of meat? When Chu Xia came out of Yun's old office, she met her teacher Zhong Zi, who came to pick her up. Yun Hui smiled and patted Chu Xia. I won't waste your time. Give me a call when you get to school. Chu Xia winked at her and whispered, I'll call you after I tell my elder brother what you said. When the important matter was mentioned, Yun Hui blushed to her ears, glared at her, turned around and almost trotted away. Ha ha. After laughing twice, Chu Xia got in the car and said to Zhou Mikang, we can't go home yet. Let's go to the dormitory first. Mei Jun and Daodu should be there. Okay. In response, without further questioning, the teacher, Tongzi, drove the car to the girls' dormitory. Sure enough, both Jun Daodu and Lu Meijun were sitting in the dormitory with depressed faces. When they heard the door, they both turned their heads and saw that it was Chu Xia. They breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Chu Xia, you are not angry with me, are you? Lu Meijun asked first. Jun Daodu also said, yes, Chu Xia, I don't think you should have that kind of character, but I also feel that you may be emotionally unstable during pregnancy. This afternoon, it almost tortured both of us to death. I'm angry. Chu Xia hugged the two of them. Because you doubt me, can you not be angry? Listening to her tone and looking at her actions, the two of them knew that they had been tricked. For a moment, they were dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. It's impossible to doubt me again in the future, otherwise, I'll be really angry. I'm going to Xiaoxian's place now. If you want to go home, I can take you back with me. Go back, the two of them said in unison. They were staying here because they were looking forward to Chu Xia's arrival. They were worried. Why would they stay here if they didn't go home? What's more, Lu Meijun is still worried about the situation of her parents. The teacher Tongzi was very clear about the relationship between Chu Xia and these little sisters. Therefore, he naturally had no objection to his little wife running away from home to home and was willing to become a coachman. Luo Xiaoxian's dormitory is in the last row of the municipal party committee compound. The young people who have never married live here. There are 2 people in one room, 2 beds, 2 stools, 2 small desks, a thermos, and 2 wash basins. Plus the food and clothing, that's all the belongings. When she first came to work here, Luo Xiaoxian was not very familiar with her roommate, so she had nothing to say while sitting there. Knowing that Chu Xia was going to the capital tomorrow, she wanted to take a look, but she felt that it was inappropriate to run there like this. Thinking about having to be here alone in the future, her tears fell uncontrollably. Another girl in the same dormitory is Chi Yun, who is from the capital. She came here to work on a temporary basis, and because of the arrogance of girls from the capital, she has not spoken to Luo Xiaoxian much. At this moment, I saw the other person sitting there crying, thinking that he was homesick, so he said funnily, Luo Xiaoxian, can you be a little successful? You are a working adult now, not a little girl who has not yet given birth child. You are a pre-month-old baby, Luo Xiaoxian replied bitterly, feeling even more aggrieved. Since the other party had already seen her, she simply stopped pressing her and began to cry. Qi Yuan did not expect this result. She was stunned for a while and quickly stepped forward to apologize. I'm sorry, I was either laughing at you or joking with you. If you really miss home, write a letter to your family and let others cry here. See how bad it is. Luo Xiaoxian had no intention of talking to her now, so she turned her back and continued to choke. It's really worthless, Qi Yuan is not a good-tempered person either. Seeing that she can't be tough or soft, she simply stopped coaxing her. You can cry if you want to, but don't think I'm ugly. Say it first, if you can't control your emotions within 10 minutes, I will ask for a dormitory transfer tomorrow. Don't blame me for not reminding you if you are embarrassed. Just adjust it. Who cares about sharing a room with you? Luo Xiaoxian was feeling aggrieved and angry at the moment. She didn't know where to send her anger. Qi Yuan sent it herself, so don't blame her for being rude. Qi Yuan really didn't know what to say, but she made the other party cry and was upset, so she simply got up and slammed the door and left. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 775. Please remember the website address of this website. Please recommend promotional introductions to your QQ group Weibo/WeChat forum post bar. Will be updated as soon as possible. When Chu Xia and others came in, they saw Xiaoxian Tongzi lying on the bed and crying. She was so happy. Luo Xiaoxian, who was venting her excitement, heard the door, but she thought it was Qi Yuan who came back, so she didn't even move and continued to lie there twitching. Xiaoxian, who is bullying you, or is it because you are reluctant to leave because I want to leave? Chu Xia asked. The crying suddenly stopped, and there was silence for half a minute. Luo Xiaoxian suddenly raised her head, her face flushed red. Why are you here? Who bullied you? Chu Xia frowned slightly. If it was really because of her departure and saw them coming, it shouldn't be like this, right? No one bullied me. Luo Xiaoxian pursed her lips and finally told the truth. I will feel very uncomfortable if I stay here alone from now on. And me? Lu Meijun and Jun Daodu protested in unison. Luo Xiaoxian glared at the two of them dissatisfied. I know I still have you, but you don't work with me, and you can't come here every day, so what use are you? I can't see you every day even if Chu Xia is here. Jun Daodu glared at her dissatisfied. In your heart, do we not count as friends except Chu Xia? No, you are friends, but... Luo Xiaoxian looked at Jun Daodu and Lu Meijun honestly, but Chu Xia and I grew up together and have different feelings. You can understand that, right? Of course we understand. Lu Meijun has a kind personality and quickly comforts her. Daodu is teasing you. Of course we also know that your relationship with Chu Xia is different. Don't worry, we will definitely come over to play with you when we have a rest in the future. And you just came here and have no friends. I am not familiar with my colleagues, which is why I feel so sad. After a while, I get used to the job and become familiar with the people, and it will be fine. Oh. I hope so. Luo Xiaoxian sighed and looked at Chu Xia. Did your teacher Zhou send you here? Chu Xia nodded. Yes, he is down there. Do you want to wash your face and go to Zhou's house for dinner with me? When I leave tomorrow, I will bring you back. Good. Luo Xiaoxian didn't even hesitate. She agreed. She quickly got up and dragged the wash basin out from under the bed to wash up. There was no faucet in this room, and there was no cooking utensils. She had to go out to wash her face, brush her teeth and get hot water. After looking around, Jun Daodu sighed heavily. Looking at Chu Xia and Lu Meijun, the conditions here in Xiaoxian are too difficult. After all, our dormitory there still has water. This will be too inconvenient in summer. I think it's okay. Lu Meijun's view was different from Jun Daodu's. You haven't seen the dormitory of my classmate's factory. The conditions are really difficult. There are 20 people living in a dormitory, and only one person can pass between the beds. There are no tables or cabinets, and the faucet is downstairs. The hot water is in the factory area, more than a mile away. These are not the most intolerable. The key point is that the toilet is right behind the dormitory. When the summer wind blows, please imagine it. This is too mysterious. Jun Daodu couldn't help but tremble. If it were me, I would rather go home every day than live in a dormitory like this. This is not a dormitory, it is just a cesspool. If conditions permit, I believe no one would want to live in a dormitory like this. However, the factory works 3 shifts. After the middle shift, there is no car. How can we get back? There are also some who were transferred from other places. Their homes are not here, and they have no chance to go back if they want to. Where can they live if they don't live in a dormitory? Based on this comparison, this condition is really pretty good. It is not a bad thing to suffer more when you are young. Think about our parents' generation, they suffered much more when they were young than we did. If they had the conditions at that time, they would have had fun even in their dreams. Jun Daodu looked at Lu Meijun with a dark look. Meijun, why are you so excited? I just said that casually, looking at you as if you want to fight with me. Lu Meijun also realized that she was a little excited and smiled sheepishly. I was worried that you would say it in front of Xiaoxing and make her retreat. She is actually very lucky to have such a job now. But you can't lose the opportunity by being loyal. I'm not stupid. Jun Daodu glared at her angrily. If I didn't know this truth, I would have said it in front of her. Why did I say nothing now? Okay, I wronged you, and I apologize to you. Lu Meijun looked at her apologetically. Maybe our family has had a lot of trouble in the past 2 days, so I feel a little more emotional. Don't be angry with me. I know, I'm just protesting, so I can't be angry with you. Jun Daodu laughed. Don't be so polite to me, I'm not used to it. Hey, Lu Meijun sighed, I went to take care of my grandma yesterday. As you know, my grandma was dissatisfied with my mother because my mother's job was not good enough and the conditions at my grandma's family were not good enough. To this day, my grandma is still talking about what would have happened if my dad had married her favorite daughter-in-law. Therefore, women must strengthen themselves. If my mother didn't have a stable job and was forced to live with my grandma, would she still be able to survive? Of course, Xiaoxing won't have this problem, but if she develops better, the elders in the family will feel more at ease, right? Listening to her emotion, Chu Xia couldn't help but ask, did you feel wronged at your grandma's house yesterday? It's not really. Lu Meijun sighed and smiled bitterly. Anyway, I've never been well received by my grandma. Although she acknowledged me as her granddaughter and didn't scold me much, she was never close to me. Yesterday, after taking care of her all day, I heard her scold my mother. Several times, I really wanted to throw away my hands and leave, but I was worried that something would really happen to her. After all, she is my father's biological mother, so I couldn't let him regret it for the rest of his life. However, I feel aggrieved. If my mother and father are living a better life than my uncle's family, will my grandma still have the same attitude? When I got home yesterday and heard my mother talk about work, my heart sank to the bottom of my heart. If my parents have problems at work again, then my grandma will get even worse. Fortunately, in Chuxia, you helped our family a lot and really saved our family. My mother told me. Later, a colleague went to tell her that the deputy factory director wanted to change my parents' jobs and also ask us to vacate our house. He said that we were not qualified to be allocated a house. In the past, we were given extra care. What does it mean to be unqualified? It's just an excuse, okay. My parents have worked in textile factories their whole lives, why are they not qualified? Just because I gave birth to a girl, I never heard that if you give birth to a girl, you are not eligible for room sharing. What kind of bullshit logic is this? Jun Daodu stared at the boss in shock. Mei-jun, why didn't you tell me earlier? I'm really experienced. How can a person like this still be qualified to be a leader? Did he think that the factory was run by his own family, and he was confused? Chusia, if you ask me, this kind of person would drive him home directly, leaving him without a job, and then throw him out on the street. Let's see what he does when the time comes. Chusia looked at Jun Daodu with a smile. Daodu, how would you feel if a person suddenly changed from leading others to being led, and at the lowest level? It would be better to live than to die. Then it's over. Chusia spread her hands. Since a person can be punished in the most severe way by following the rules, why do you want to bully others? How can that be considered bullying others? What he did is called bullying others. Do people who don't know the truth think so? Chusia spread her hands. You have to think that Mei-jun's parents are very kind people. If something happened to the factory director, they would think so. Blame yourself. Will you? Jun Daodu touched his head. Obviously he is not worthy of sympathy. Yes, Lu Mei-jun nodded. Chusia was very right about the character of my parents. They are just that kind of people. Let's put it this way, the technicians who were in the same group as my dad are now the workshop directors, but now the last one is also the workshop director. My dad is still an ordinary security guard. It's not that his boss didn't give him a chance, or that he didn't do well. In the early days, when it was his turn to be promoted, he always gave up opportunities to others. Once he got used to it, he wouldn't be promoted. Son. Jun Daodu said happily. Daodu, fortunately your personality is not like that of uncle and aunt. Just because I saw them being good guys but always suffering disadvantages since I was young, I swore that I would never be like them. I would not harm others, but I would never let others take advantage of me. My dream since childhood is that one day I will be successful and no longer let others bully my parents, including my uncle's family and my grandmother. You will do it. Chusia patted her shoulder comfortingly, but couldn't help but ask doubtfully, according to you, you should look down on us being friends like this. How could you be so friendly to us at that time? Luo Xiaoxian came in with a wash basin and sat down. She looked at Lu Mei-jun expectantly. She was also curious about this question. There is no choice. Lu Mei-jun spread her hands and smiled sheepishly. Everyone must have friends. Others have inappropriate reasons of one kind or another, so they can only choose you as friends. However, this was my initial thought. After we had been dating for a long time, I really fell in love with your personality. I didn't become friends with you just because I had no choice. This is okay too? Several people looked at each other, really not knowing what to say. Let's go. Don't keep Mr. Master waiting too long, Luo Xiaoxian suggested. As soon as the few people got up, Qi Yuan came back. She was obviously shocked when she saw a room full of people. Qi Yuan, I won't be back tonight. Luo Xiaoxian greeted her and took the lead to go out. Chusia and others smiled politely at Qi Yuan and left one by one. It's not an unweaned child, what are you doing? After coming back to her senses, Qi Yuan shook her head in amusement and lay down on her bed. To be continued. Domain name of this book, please tell each other to promote it. Thank you. Use the Ctrl+D shortcut key to bookmark it. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 776. Second update arrived. You should know how he wants to deal with me, right? After Chusia said these words, Zhao Qian's eyes flickered unnaturally, and then he raised his neck with a guilty conscience. How could I know what he did to you? I am only responsible for bringing you here, and the rest has nothing to do with me. Chu Xia responded calmly, what conditions did he promise you? Xiao Yuan took a step forward, with a twisted smile on his gloomy face. Let me tell you this, as long as she is willing to trick you out, she and her mother can get a job as a waiter, not laundryman and lavatory workers. Just because of this, you betrayed me. Chu Xiaoding looked at Zhao Qian, or maybe you are born to be cold-blooded. In any case, you and I are also blood cousins. You will feel a little guilty if you do this. Don't you feel anything at all? What do I have to feel guilty about? Did you feel guilty when you married into a good family but didn't want to help me at all? Zhao Qian snorted coldly. I'm not angry if you don't say that. Lin Chuxia, you have ended up like this. You deserve your bad luck. You really don't need anything just to climb a high tree. Chu Xia curled her lips speechlessly, and saw the two people standing at the door, starting to clean up the barriers. The look Xiao Yuan looked at her became increasingly difficult for her to accept. Her eyes turned to Zhao Qian again, and she saw that he was staring at her with some schadenfreude. When his eyes met hers, he raised his eyebrows proudly and smiled. Very good. A cold smile appeared on the corners of Chu Xia's lips. She could finally do what she wanted to do without any psychological burden. Xiao Yuan, why did you close the door? Came the questioning voice. Mei Yitong walked in with an unhappy look on his face. I had to turn to the back before I walked in. See Mei Yitong. Xiao Yuan's expression changed obviously, thinking of the other party's background. He smiled again and said, Mr. Mei, why are you here? I just happened to come here and wanted to come over to get something to eat. As a result, I found that it was closed. I thought something had happened, so I quickly turned around from the back. Mei Yitong pointed at Chu Xia. Why is she here? Master Mei also knows her. Of course. Zhou Mixang's new wife, how could I not recognize her? Mei Yitong said, sitting down on the counter and smiling at Xiao Yuan. What, you want to eat alone? No. Mr. Mei misunderstood. Xiao Yuan smiled flatteringly. Originally, I wanted to control her and then notify Mr. Mei unexpectedly. It happened by chance. Mei Yitong raised an eyebrow. Really? Of course it's true. Xiao Yuan raised his hand to swear. If I lie, I will die badly. Mei Yitong waved his hand. If you don't believe those people, Yuan, what do you mean? I understand, please come here. Xiao Yuan quickly stepped forward. Mei Yitong waved to him again, motioning for him to get closer. Xiao Yuan looked at the distance between the two and had no choice but to move his head towards Mei Yitong. Ouch, the next second. He screamed in pain. SHH. Mei Yitong grabbed his ears, pulled his head in front of her, and lowered his voice. If I don't come, let me tell you what you are going to do. Mr. Mei. Xiao Yuan's face looked a little ugly. His family's background was indeed incomparable with that of the Mei family. However, his father was also a popular person in front of the chief. How could he treat him like this? The two families were ferry passengers on the same boat, so why did he act like he was superior to others? 10 years east of Hedong and 10 years west of Hexi, who can say with certainty whether the Xiao family or the Mei family will have the upper hand in the future? Humph, if one day this bucket of coal falls into his hands, he will definitely feel like this. Xiao Yuan complained in her heart, but she kept begging for mercy. Mr. Mei, please be gentle, my ears hurt. Answer my question. Mei Yitong grabbed his ear harder. I want to give her to Mr. Mei to humiliate Zhou Mixang. Xiao Yuan emphasized again, what I said is true. What I just said is true. I would never dare to lie to you, master. Are you going to humiliate me or you? Mei Yitong patted his cheek hard with her other hand. When did I, Mei Yitong, ever do the kind of thing you said? You are dirty but you want me. Why are you worried about being dragged into the water? Xiaoyuan, do you know what I, Mei Yaitong, hate most in my life? That's what you're doing now. You don't have the ability to settle accounts with Zhou Mikang and take it out on his woman. Are you a humming man? As he spoke, he looked at the two men who were about to move at the door. Do you want to come over and deal with me? Come on, come if you have the ability. When the time comes, you will understand whether it is the Mei family who can eat in City A, or the Xiao family who can eat in City A. No, no, Master Mei, we are just following orders. Yes, yes, Mr. Mei, we listen to you. We will do whatever you say. In fact, we just dared to be angry but dared not speak out before. That's what's going on. We can't stand him using this method to bully a weak woman, but we can't help it. If we don't listen to him, he will make our family lose their jobs. Hey, the old man in the family, we all need to eat, what can we do? Mr. Mei, you are the most reasonable. We have been hoping that you would show up in time. Unexpectedly, you showed up. Xiaoyuan's face turned black with anger when he heard the two of them trying to excuse 11 and dragging him into the pit. These two people usually kept saying that they would only listen to him in this life, and they would do whatever he asked them to do. What to do? It turns out, this is the way to listen. Okay, for the sake of correcting your mistakes after you realize them, I will forgive you once. However, you must atone for your sins. Can you do it? Yes. Yes. Yes, the two nodded hurriedly. I can also atone for my sins. Zhao Qian knelt on the ground with a plop. Comrade leader, I couldn't help it. My mother and I were both deceived by Xiaoyuan. Shut up. As soon as Mei Yaitong shouted, Zhao Qian stopped crying immediately, staring at Mei Yaitong pitifully with a pair of small eyes full of tears. Mei Yaitong glared at her. This is the first time I have seen such a vicious woman like you. Now, just stay here and don't take a step forward. Yes, Zhao Qian responded, curling up into a ball, looking so delicate and fragile. The successive betrayals of several people made Xiaoyuan speechless. He was so angry. Now, it's your turn. Mei Yaitong slapped Xiaoyuan's cheek again. Don't look at me like that. Even if I kill you now, it's just justice for heaven. A bastard like you, life is a waste. Food, he said and looked at Chu Xia. You can avenge this revenge yourself. I promised your brother to help you, so naturally I will help you as low as possible. Come here, I will catch him. How do you want to deal with him? Just tell me and I'll be your free goon today. Mei Yaitong, you and I are comrades on the same front. You are crazy. You actually helped Zhou Mikang. Don't forget, your girlfriend was snatched away by Zhou Mikang. You can't be so bearish, just let's admit it. Xiaoyuan, who had regained consciousness, began to struggle and shout wildly. You weren't too angry if you didn't mention me. Mei Yaitong slapped him in the face. I hate you the most for inciting bastards. Try to provoke me again. The difference between Xiaoyuan's strength and that of Mei Yaitong is basically the difference between an ant and an elephant. Therefore, when he was frightened by Mei Yaitong, he immediately withered. When Chu Xia came closer, he thanked Mei Yaitong with a smile. When his eyes turned to Xiaoyuan, his face suddenly dropped. Brother Mei, please let him lie down. Okay, Mei Yaitong responded and pushed Xiaoyuan to the ground. Then, she stepped on his chest and signaled Chu Xia to do it. I've wanted to gouge out your eyes for a long time. Chu Xia raised a needle in her hand, but I can't do such a cruel thing as gouging out your eyes, but when I think of your eyes I feel uncomfortable looking at people, so I had to compromise. After saying that, he raised the syringe, smiled evilly, and hit Xiaoyuan's butt with the needle. In order to prevent you from having random thoughts in the future, I had to waste it. This is a tube of precious medicine. After saying that, he took in a breath of pain. Xiaoyuan's body was restrained, so he could speak without hindrance. He asked with a trembling voice, "What did you inject me with?" "You bitch, if you dare to do anything to hurt me, my dad will definitely avenge me, I will never forgive you in this life." "Well." Mei Yitong stepped on his head and crushed him, "You are allowed to scold my friend's sister for being trustworthy and loyal to others." Poor Xiao Yuan's mouth, after 2 teeth-smashing incidents, it was crushed to death again. "What effect does this medicine have? You will experience it in the future. Tisk tisk, this injection on you is actually worth it." As he spoke, a tube of medicine was pushed into Xiao Yuan's body. After pulling out the needle, Chu Xia still felt a little uncomfortable. To relieve his hatred, he glanced at Zhao Qian, who was lying on the ground shivering, and waved to her. "Didn't he say he was hurting you? Do you want to come over and step on me?" Zhao Qian hesitated for a moment, then got up, moved to Xiao Yuan's side with difficulty, raised her foot, stepped on his leg, then stepped on his leg again, and then looked at Chu Xia pitifully. "Xia, my legs are weak." "Are you still weak in the legs?" Chu Xia smiled sarcastically. "When you had to deal with me back then, you were not weak in the legs at all. How dare you target me?" "No, no." In order to show his loyalty, Zhao Qian jumped directly on Xiao Yuan and started stepping back and forth. "Tisk tisk, Director Xiao enjoys it so much. You can't buy this massage service with money." Chu Xia tisked twice, took out a written confession from his pocket and handed it to Mei Yitong. "Let him press his fingerprints. Domain name of this book, please tell each other to promote it." "Thank you. Use the Ctrl+D shortcut key to bookmark it. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 777. The 2 chapters are combined, and I feel it is better this way. I wish all Nuan fans happiness. She didn't have a venomous tongue or a harsh mouth, but it was Chu Xia's turn to feel uncomfortable. She stared blankly at Zhou Mikang and didn't reply a word to him for a long time. "Hey." With a slight sigh, Zhou Mikang returned to her and hugged her again. "What's wrong? Are you reluctant to separate from me? Starting to be narcissistic again?" Chu Xia curled her lips, and then her voice softened. "It's not really narcissistic. I've been with you for so long, I'm really used to having you by my side, Zhou Mikang. I'll be there if you leave. I miss you, I really do." "Well, you should think of me," Zhou Mikang said matter-of-factly. "The person closest to you in this world is actually me. Who don't you want me to think of?" "Chu Xia. Can you be more narcissistic? Don't look at me with such contempt." Zhou Mikang patted her head funnily, emotionally. "Maybe you and your parents should be closer, but in terms of sharing secrets, you and I should be closer." "Closer?" "Yes, if they knew she was no longer the original Lin Chuxia, would her parents still treat her like this? They would be sad, disappointed, and even hate her, right? Even if she told them that their daughter got along very harmoniously with her parents in her time and space and lived a very happy life, it would be difficult for them to accept her and forgive her in a short time, right?" She hugged him tightly without saying a word. Feeling the sudden sadness in her heart, he thought about it for a moment. He understood what she was thinking and patted her back. "If your parents knew that Chu Xia was not the original you, it would be hard to accept it." "I know. Don't worry about this kind of thing if you know it. Although honesty is a virtue, you can never be honest with your parents about this matter. Otherwise, it will be a lifetime of pain for them." "I know. By the way, let me tell you something. When we came back from Juan's home last night, Xiaoxi, Liao Hui and Zhang Kamakeo heard our conversation." Chu Xia nodded. "Yes, I know. You know, this time it was Zhou Mikang's turn to be surprised." "How did you know?" "They came out after you got home." "How did you know?" "When I was running back, the 4th sister hid in the corner, and I happened to see them. As for Ma Chao and Zhang Qi, I didn't notice them." "You Joe Mikang looked her up and down. You don't have any ideas? What should I think? I'm too embarrassed to see anyone. Chu Xia curled her lips. Is it worth it? We are a legal couple. It's normal to have some intimate conversations. Besides, it means that we have a good relationship and love each other. That's why. They don't be embarrassed to treat me badly in the future. Yes, yes. Joe Mikang secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He was worried that his young wife was tender-skinned, and he originally didn't plan to tell her about this. But just now I thought about it, it seemed unfair to my little wife. Simply tell her, I'm sorry, it's only for a while. At least he didn't have to be kept in the dark like a little fool, but he didn't expect that his little wife would be so open-minded, so he felt relieved. Do you think I'm particularly thick-skinned? Chu Xia asked after looking at him for a few moments. No. That's what you think. Forget it. If you're thick-skinned, just be thick-skinned. I don't care. You go to eat first. I'll wash up and get down right away, Chu Xia said while tapping her chin towards the door. Hurry up. I'm going to change clothes. Really? Joe Mikang smiled and shook his head. I just said that I was thick-skinned. We are both husband and wife, do we need to be so particular? Chu Xia glared at him. Of course, couples should be careful, don't be wordy, get out quickly. You can go to bed, there's no need to see me off. Joe Mikang loosened his arms around her and patted her head like a puppy. You don't like parting, so give me a kiss and treat it like I'm just going to work. I'm already up, let me see you off. Chu Xia put her arms around his neck, gave his lips an unceremonious chirp, and rolled over and got out of bed with a proud smile. I didn't brush my teeth. Joe Mikang frowned and put the cotton nightgown on her. It's really worrying. What should I do if I catch a cold? You're so wordy. Is there heating in the room? What about it? Chu Xia threw the cotton nightgown on the bed in disgust and trotted into the bathroom. How can I wash up in such thick clothes? Without waiting for the leader Xiang Zi to answer, the bathroom's door closed with a bang. Unfortunately, she ignored the stubbornness of the group leader Xiangzi, and also ignored how the group leader Zhangzi entered the bathroom last night. As soon as he squatted on the toilet, she heard the bathroom door click. Before she could react, the group leader Zhangzi was already standing at the door with a dark face, clutching my cotton nightgown. Get out! Chu Xia's face turned red. Even if she came from the future, she would not be able to accept the man's behavior calmly. There was no privacy between husband and wife. For example, what she was doing now. What's more, their marriage is not about falling in love first and then getting married. Joe Mikang acted so impulsively because he was anxious. As soon as he entered the door, he regretted it, put his nightgown on the hanger with his head hanging down, and went out without saying a word. Chu Xia, who was originally angry, couldn't get angry anymore when she saw him like this. Thinking that he was about to leave and the fate was uncertain, she sighed and shouted outside, "Forgive you once, and there will be a next time. I'll divorce you." Okay. Okay, Joe Mikang, who was feeling extremely annoyed, immediately breathed a sigh of relief, responded repeatedly, and turned back to the bathroom door. This time he was smarter and asked before arriving, "Can I go in?" "I'm getting teeth," Chu Xia said vaguely. "Then you wash up, I'm going downstairs first." It wasn't until he walked out of the door that Joe Mikang was truly relieved, but then he became even more annoyed. He was so much older than her, how could he always act like a rookie in front of her? Xiaomi. He went downstairs and saw his second sister Jo Jipping standing there with red and swollen eyes looking at him. "When we were coming over yesterday, my husband passed away." "No wonder," Joe Mikang quickly asked, "is brother-in-law okay?" "He's okay. I'll see you off and go back right away," Jo Jipping sniffed. Suddenly she stepped forward and hugged her brother. "Xiaomi, in the Liao family, the old man is the best to me, woo woo woo." Sister. Jo Mikang patted her on the back. You should learn from my little sister and move in with your brother-in-law. Living apart all the time affects your relationship too much. Yeah, Jo Jipping responded. He let go of his hand and wiped the tears on his face, looking embarrassed. Jo Mikang handed her a handkerchief. When you get along with your brother-in-law in the future, don't be too strong-willed. Men don't like women with too strong personalities. What if I'm not strong? If I soften up, will his parents still bully me to death? Jo Jipping shook her head and changed the subject. Xiaomi, I came here just to tell you. You are already married and your parents are divorced. Although you have other children, you are the only one in Chuxia. For her sake, you must keep yourself safe. Sister, I know. Chu Xia happened to go downstairs and heard Jo Jipping's words. His eyes were a little hot, and he walked a few steps down. Second sister. Are you here so early? Jo Jipping smiled forcefully. Well, you got up so early too. Yeah, he saw her eyes were swollen like peaches. Chu Xia looked at Jo Mikang inquiringly. My great-grandfather passed away, and the old man was very close to me. Jo Mikang quickly explained to his young wife that after what happened just now, he was eager to do more for her. Just do more things for your wife. Sister, I'm sorry. Chu Xia stepped forward and hugged Jo Jipping. Please give me more advice to my brother-in-law. While several people were talking, Mrs. Jo, Mr. Jo, Jo Jingping, Lin Yangkaiu and Jo Hanliang also got up. Chu Xia took a look at the time and said, I'll call Daodu. Jo Hanliang said quickly, stop calling her, let her sleep. We agreed yesterday that she would not get up to see me off. Chu Xia smiled bitterly. It turns out that everyone is afraid of facing such a separation, or it can be said that their hearts are not strong enough. The family had breakfast in a depressing atmosphere, and after a few words of advice, Jo Mikang and Jo Hanliang went out. At the door, they met Lin Baohe, Zhao Yulan, Zhao Qiliang, and Luo Xiaoxian who were looking for them. Until the car drove far away, a group of people still stood there and refused to enter the house. This made Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan, who were already a little suspicious, even more confused on their faces. Angry that they asked, Chu Xia winked at Luo Xiaoxian and ran to Jun Daodu's room to tell her to get up. The two opened the door and saw Jun Daodu sitting on the bed blankly, crying silently. What's the reason for your trouble? Chu Xia looked at her helplessly. Get up, otherwise we won't wait for you. It's okay, I'm just venting for myself. Jun Daodu forced an ugly smile. Do you want to see them off again? Luo Xiaoxian frowned. Hey, what kind of theory are you talking about? You can hide away now and deliver it later. I'm really convinced by you. I'm afraid I'll be embarrassed if you don't see me here, but now that I think about it, I'm not willing to be separated like this. No, I have to go see him off. Jun Daodu jumped out of bed and rushed into the bathroom as he spoke. This person. Luo Xiaoxian shook her head speechlessly. I was really convinced. I thought she could afford it and let it go, but it turned out that she didn't understand it at all. Hey. Chu Xia poked her with her shoulder. What did my brother say to you last night? Have you ever? She made a kissing gesture. Have you? You are indeed married. Luo Xiaoxian stared at her speechlessly. Do you think it's possible for us? What's the point of letting the elders see it? Even for your face, we can't do such a thing. Chu Xia, what are you thinking? Oh, I understand, you and the group leader last night, haha. We are husband and wife, everything is normal. Chu Xia rolled her eyes. You think I will be ashamed of myself? Tisk. Luo Xiaoxian, who had no advantage, made a bitter look on her face. Chu Xia, you can't do this, leader, give me Chu Xia who is as pure and lovely as a piece of white paper. Chu Xia quickly grabbed her mouth and said, stop howling. What's the point of letting people outside hear it? Luo Xiaoxian was so frightened that she nodded repeatedly and signaled Chu Xia to let go of her hand. Your brother and I have made an appointment. When he comes back, we will get married. Chu Xia nodded with a smile, okay. I will give you a big red envelope when the time comes. Of course, you married so well. Of course you want to give me a big red envelope, and you will be my supporter in the future. You want to dump me, it's impossible. How do you know what I'm thinking? Chu Xia deliberately widened her eyes. I really wanted to get rid of you, this little tired guy. Let's see, Luo Xiaoxian pretended to be scared and patted her chest. Fortunately, I had the foresight to say the ugly things beforehand. You would be embarrassed to do that. Otherwise, I would have no regrets at all. Did my parents ask you anything last night? Chu Xia asked in a low voice. I asked your brother what the mission was and whether it was dangerous. Haven't we already reconciled our confessions? Your brother said that it was just a long-distance training, just like the 25,000-mile long march. The difference is that there are no enemies. Hunting, so. Let them rest assured, there is nothing more than being tired. Then they didn't ask anything else, Chu Xia continued to ask. Of course Luo Xiaoxian looked amused. They asked your brother. Do you have to climb snow-capped mountains and cross grasslands? Will you fall into a swamp and be unable to get out? Wait. Your brother said, the root is he doesn't know what happened now. However, he will definitely not go to a place that is too dangerous. This is training, not a war. 1 or 2 battle losses are allowed, but too many losses are definitely not allowed. Then, Uncle Baohe and Aunt Yulan were obviously relieved, but from their looks, I still don't believe them completely. Chu Xia sighed, that's for sure. After all, everyone acted too solemnly, and everyone's expressions this morning will definitely make them worried. Forget it, just keep it secret for as long as you want. Anyway, sooner or later, everyone will know. What are you talking about while I'm not here? Jun Daodu wiped her hair and came out, looking at the two of them. Don't say bad things about me, or I'll stab you villains. I'm just talking bad about you. Luo Xiaoxian glared at her. Hurry up, you don't want to be late on your first day at work, do you? No, Jun Daodu looked at the two of them blankly. You really don't plan to see them off again? This separation may last a year or two. Since we know that this separation may be a year or two, why were you pretending to be dead here earlier? Chu Xia glared at her. Hurry up, let's go downstairs first. Downstairs, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe were chatting with old Mrs. Zhou, telling some interesting things about the countryside. It could be seen that everyone was trying hard to adjust the atmosphere, including old Mrs. Zhou, who was smiling as they watched. But it was a feeling of languor. This feeling will probably last for a while. Chu Xia sighed secretly and came to the elders to say goodbye. Grandpa, Grandma, parents, we are going to work. Will you be back tonight? Zhao Yulan asked anxiously. Chu Xia nodded. When I come back, I said hello to Teacher Song. I will go to the hospital to stay in the dormitory in a month. For the time being, I will come back to accompany you. Zhao Yulan nodded reassuringly. Okay, let's go quickly, don't delay. Zhou Mikang and the three of them were silent along the way. None of them were single, and they were all worried about each other. However, men don't like to talk like women, so they kept their thoughts in their hearts and digested them. After arriving at the base, it was already 7 o'clock in the morning. Gather the team. Looking at the serious faces in front of him, with expressions of excitement and anxiety, the depression in Zhou Mikang's heart was swept away, replaced by enthusiasm. A good man should die in battle. Of course he doesn't want to die in battle, but he wants to make achievements on the battlefield, make his family proud of him, and make his little wife proud of him. Su Zhenghong also came here early. The higher-level leaders had come to speak a few days ago and encouraged everyone. Now, their departure will be quiet. Are you all ready? Yes. Leave. Yes. The team meandered away, and the remaining soldiers stood spontaneously on the side of the road, watching everyone leave with serious faces. Su Zhenghong patted Zhou Mikang on the shoulder. "Captain Zhou, we are waiting for you." "Yes, master," Zhou Mikang saluted, turned around and strode away with the team. When he reached the door, his steps were sluggish. His young wife was standing in front of the farewell team. Zhou Hanliang, who was walking behind him, had an equally complex look on his face. Walking so far away, this came to his mind. Still those reluctant eyes. "You are the instructor," Zhou Mikang whispered in his ear while no one was paying attention. "Quicken your pace and move forward." Feeling refreshed, Zhou Hanliang also caught up. "In fact, it is very honorable to participate in this mission, and the enthusiasm of the soldiers is also extremely high, and of course they must set an example. This time, not only their regiment, but also the sharp regiments of several other divisions will also gather together. A team has its soul first. Only then can you be energetic. Zhou Mikang and him are the soul of this regiment, and the energy and spirit of all the soldiers depend on them." Luo Hunky, who was unable to participate in this mission, returned to the dormitory with a lonely look after the team left. He was still recuperating. He is a straightforward person, and he also knows that if he wants to make a difference in the army, he can only rely on his own strength. He doesn't even dare to think about being admitted to the military academy. But now, with the road in front of him, he couldn't grasp this feeling of loneliness from his heart. Who can understand? There were 2 light knocks on the dormitory door, and Zhang Erniu's voice came, "Can I come in?" Other comrades have already gathered for training after the team set off. He stayed in the dormitory by himself as his nurse. It's normal for Zhang Erniu to come here at this time. "Come in," Luo Hunky responded and quickly sat up from the bed. Unhappy, Zhang Erniu applied medicine to his ankle. Bian asked. Take good care of your injuries, and you'll have another chance in the future." "You do not understand." "Okay, I don't understand." Zhang Erniu raised her head and smiled at him. "Although I don't understand, I know that as long as you have confidence, you will realize your ideal one day." "Ideal?" Luo Hunky was stunned and looked at Zhang Erniu. "What is your ideal?" Zhang Erniu smiled sheepishly. "I went to school less and learned more than others. Therefore, my biggest ideal is to keep up with everyone's progress, be a qualified nurse, and not be kicked out of home." "I have no ideals." Luo Hunky shook his head. "My father helped me become a soldier. I am willing to come because of Zhong Hongying. Later, after she broke up with me, I felt like the sky was falling. Then, I tried my best to vent my anger, and as a result, I hurt myself. After I got hurt, I met you, and then I really figured out what kind of woman could live a good life with me, so I just wanted to behave well, marry you home, and prevent you from being laughed at. However, I have no ideals, Erniu. Am I very pathetic? When you become a qualified nurse, will you no longer want me?" The 1.9-meter tall man had such a helpless look in his eyes. Zhang Erniu's heart immediately softened and she shook her head. "No, no matter when, as long as you want me, I will follow you. I can't be an officer, don't you dislike me? When I fell in love with you, you were not an officer." Zhang Erniu smiled at him. "Even if you are demobilized, I will not dislike you. At worst, I won't be a nurse anymore. I will follow your demobilization and go to the village to be a nurse, a barefoot doctor." Erniu, Luo Hunky stared at her, not knowing what to say. "Okay, stop talking. I'm here to change your medicine. If others know that I'm here to talk to you about this, they can send me home now," Zhang Erniu said as she mentioned the medicine. The small medicine box goes out. "Erniu, thank you." After Zhang Erniu left for a long time, Luo Hunky murmured something. No matter how stupid he was, he realized at this time that Zhang Erniu's coming to change the dressing was just a cover. She probably came to comfort him deliberately because she was worried about his random thoughts. He felt so warm in his heart. This was the first time in his life that someone really cared about his mood. His parents were doing it for his own good, and his sister also cared about him, but they had never cared about him in such a detailed way. Mood, as for Zhong Hongying, it is even more impossible. It turns out that the feeling of being taken seriously is so good. However, he couldn't stop working hard just because she was willing to demobilize with him. Gritting his teeth, he picked up the textbook reviewed by his comrades and looked at it carefully. When Chu Xia returned home in the evening, she was naturally interrogated by Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe. After thinking about it again and again, Chu Xia decided to tell the truth. The result was not what she feared. After learning the truth, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe neither sighed nor blamed her. They just held her tightly in their arms and said nothing. This made her worried, so she looked at the two of them anxiously. "Father, mother, if you want to scold me, just scold me, okay?" "Xia, you have grown up," Zhao Yulan said. "Yes, Xia has grown up and knows how to think about her parents." Lin Baohe also looked at his daughter with admiration and echoed his wife's words. "Dad, mother." In an instant, Chu Xia burst into tears. It turned out that she had never understood them, but she thought she knew them. Domain name of this book, please tell each other to promote it. Thank you. Use the Ctrl+D shortcut key to bookmark it.